Oh, oh. What's going on, Boba Fett? Oh, go ahead. Cars. It's funny you brought up the car. No, I'll let you do. You gotta do a proper Bobby intro. That's my fault. I interrupted you. But yeah, hit him with a proper Bobby intro because I'm also getting this live cooking. Yeah, Monday, Thursday. Beauty. Good morning, Bobby. The intros are always fucking fire. Good intro. I just got, as soon as I went live, I got a subscriber from Sansar. Come on, Sansar! He popped up. Yeah, quick. He was on the buttons. He was hot on the buttons. He's like, as soon as these motherfuckers go live, I want him to call me out. We went live instantly. Sansar, boom, subscribe. Look, I bet you he's probably doing some kind of, let's see, hold on, multi-stream. I guarantee you put something in the chat. Come on, Sansar, you got something in the chat for us? No, I don't see anything. Okay, whatever. That was your chance, buddy. Well, yeah, we're back. We're back. The network's continuing to grow. We had just what was it, yesterday morning? Three new people join the network. The activity's up. We're continuing to grow. Everything that we do is continuing to get better. It's just nothing. Yeah, we're just moving in the right direction. So little by little, people will continue to see what it is that we're doing. We're going to continue to grow the network, and that's what I was saying with Bobby too. We've talked about this in the past. The larger that it becomes, too, the bigger the network grows, the more money everybody's going to make because, for one, there's going to be higher level individuals inside of there, so people can give you networking opportunities. Am I freezing?
No, I'm just making sure mine's live on my end. I was just checking my YouTube.
Okay, got you. So, the better opportunities you're going to have with the gentlemen that we network inside, and the opportunities that we can give to those that are actually coming in to learn how to make money are also going to be greater. That's how it works whenever you grow an organization. You have more pool, you have more influence, you're able to affect markets in a certain type of way, you're able to affect the world in a certain way. If you have a team of people around you working towards a common goal, that's how you compete. So, it's just the network's growing, we're winning, and we're going to continue to do so because we're going to keep showing up, we're going to keep growing, and people will see what it is that we're doing.
Yeah, it's something that
So,
we preach
you got
about all
any?
the time is the teamwork aspect. A lot of people want to go the solopreneur route, and it's not possible in this day and age. You need so many resources, you need so much information in what you do that it's literally, I would say it's almost impossible. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's almost impossible to do it by yourself because there's so much that needs to get done in so little time. You have to rely on people for information mostly, but also some tasks. Nobody wants to just clip videos and post them all day if you want to do social media. It's like you're going to need help in that aspect. But then if you're running a business behind the scenes, you have to be technical. You have to know how to do sales, or you have to know how to do the business aspect of finance, your revenue minus your expenses. Are you profitable doing your marketing? So there's so many different aspects to it that you need help and you need teamwork and you need different ideas flowing in. And that's what we're building. And that's why it's so important, because the jack of all trades, something I touched on in Sunday conversation, the jack of all trades is great, but he's not going to be the expert in one position or one field, because that's what you need. We need highly skilled professionals in each field, and then we could also build something great all together.
Yep. That's a great point that you bring up again. We can touch upon that for a second. Because every time I would interview people for the brokerage, and it was these young cats, hustlers that want to make money, that want to, and so many times I would hear from them how they wanted to do 8 different things to be able to make money. I want to do real estate, car sales, e-com store. I'm working at Five Guys. I'm doing this. And I would say, I'd say to them, "Well, what do you think you're gonna accomplish by doing all those things?" "Oh, I'm trying to make a bunch of money. I'm trying to be a hustler, this, that, and the third." And I would tell them that's not the goal. That's not the most effective way to do things. When you're first starting out with a career or a business, that has to be the only thing that you do, right? That's the only, become an expert at what it is that you do. That's going to be way more valuable than you trying to do 8 different things at a mediocre level. Somebody who does eight things at an average level will never be able to outcompete anybody in that one individual field who's doing it at the highest level. The people doing it at the highest level are the ones who make all the money.
Yep.
So you got to pick one thing, do it at the highest level, so then you can make money. So yeah, that's a great point. It's become an expert in your field, and then you leverage your connections, your network, the people that you know, to gain the knowledge in the fields that you wouldn't have already have mastered, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people get confused because they see these entrepreneurs that do so many different things. They're running 5 businesses, they're running 6 businesses. I even watched a video on this one guy based out of Dallas, Texas, and he starts all these different businesses, but he has a process to it. So he runs the process, and then once he does his process, it's automated, so his business is running itself. So whether he's the middleman in a service business. So one of his big ones that he recently started was he started a tree cutting business, and he's like, I don't know how to cut trees. So what he was doing is he was just providing the landing pages and the contact information on a website, and then generating leads for it, whether through social media, affiliate marketing, and people were landing on his page and booking consultations where he would quote them, but then he was also on the back end working with like actual tree cutting companies. So he would send them to the job. So then he had a process that he's like, okay, now it's automated. I get the jobs. The tree cutting business goes. But at the same time, now he could scale that. And he did that with like 8 different businesses. So I think people get confused when they see these entrepreneurs doing these things like, oh, wow, he has 8 different businesses. I could do 8 different jobs, 8 different things at the same time. Well, it's because he had a process, and he, was actually planning on how he was doing that. So don't get confused in that aspect when you see the gurus and you see all these people doing 5 different things, 4 different things, posting about it, making money here. The 8 different, everyone talks about you want to be a millionaire in today's day and age, you need to have 8 different income streams. That's true, you do, but it has to come one in due time, and also it comes with investing, and it comes with different knowing compounding interest and knowing all different things. So that's just a little something I wanted to mention too, is don't get caught up in the hype when you see people like building all different types of businesses.
That's a great point. Yeah, because somebody from the outside would say 8 businesses. Oh, okay, I gotta do 8 different things. No, he does one thing really well and was able to build 8 different businesses out of it.
Yep.
Completely different thing, right? So, for example, my skill is sales. I learned how to do sales at a super high level. Okay, how do I use my sales ability to be able to leverage and make money in other businesses? So I started by becoming fantastic at sales. Okay, sales is also what? Marketing, being able to generate money, business. So I turned that into the Taylor's Code and say, sure, I did learn TA, a new skill, but I use my sales skills, my sales ability to be able to market the university, market the network, understand how to sell it on the live streams whenever we're talking about the community itself. So you're taking that skill set that you do at a very high level and you leverage it in ways that make sense. You know how to do that. So yeah, focus on becoming fantastic at one thing first. people, these football players, these basketball players, these guys who play at the highest levels, they're not, they're not going and doing shuffleboarding in their spare time, and that's how they're getting ready for the games, and they're competing in the professional shuffleboard league. No, they're all they do is play basketball. That's it, right? That's why they make millions.
Shuffleboard.
So, yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm trying to think of the. Oh, okay. Here we go. Did you see the video of that Crockett smut? I think you're cutting out. You there?
Yeah, I hear you, but I don't. Let me know. Let me know if I'm back. I don't know. Something just cut out for a second.
Oh, Sanser. Sanser found us on the tube or on the.
On the TC.
Yeah, on the TC what's it called? Motherfucker. X account.
Oh,
it's
the
the guy who
X.
followed it. Yeah, it's the guy who followed me on the what's it called? On Kick.
That's the benefit of having all the socials on the bottom of the video there, everyone could tap right in.
Exactly. Fucking professional.
But
all
yes.
you gotta do, Sanser, is join the network.
But I did see this guy's really trying to get in the video today, huh? It's like 8 times back and forth.
Damn. Fucking get him on the mic. What are you doing, Harry?
He just locked it. He told me when I was setting up, he said he's about to propel down. He's washing the windows. So I don't know. He's not washing the windows. I don't know what they're paying him for.
If I see him fucking propel down in a harness, I'll start crying.
He's about to. He's literally about to.
Bro,
he just jumps off
at
like
first,
this.
He's trying to get his cameo on the Gentleman's Code. He's going to talk about this for centuries. His entire bloodline's going to talk about the time that Dad was on the fucking Gentleman's Code, propelling from the ceiling.
Okay, yeah, but yes.
At first, okay, go ahead. Yeah, so we're talking about the Crockett Lady Hot Wheels comment.
I did see that, yes. And the first thing that came to my mind was, how is this lady an elected official?
Yep.
I mean, come on.
That was what you just said was my same exact reaction. I thought the same thing. How is this an elected official? I go, how is this a politician? Now, don't get me wrong. I like to talk a little shit. I'll call people names. I'll do shit like that. Absolutely. But not in public, at a rally, as a politician. No, understand the space that you're in. And this is supposed to be, I've been seeing that this is one of the ladies that they're rallying behind. This is your fearless leader.
Because she's a shit talker.
This ratchet. Yeah. And I saw some comments saying it too, but it's true. Ratchet. I mean, just ratchet, speaks ghetto. I mean, how about some speak well. That's my big thing is speak well. You don't have to be this. You can tell whenever they play it up. Kamala did the same thing. They try to play up the what would you call it? The accent.
Yeah, the ghetto accent.
Yeah, the lay it on thick, the ghetto-ness. Oh baby, this is Hot Wheels man, and he's a hot mess. What are you saying? You're a fucking politician. Speak, articulate. Give a good speech. Don't speak like that. But yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm like, how's this lady? Who is this lady? How's she elected? What is she talking about?
So she's out of I think she's out of Houston area, senator. And yeah, that was my first thoughts, and I was just like, we've heard some crazy things come out of people's mouth, especially the president's mouth. He said some crazy things over the years, but it's like, it's like something, you're making fun of someone for something they obviously can't change. It's something that happened to him as a child, and it really has no place. It's like you said, to be professional, give your speech, and make your policy points. That's the thing, is that there is no policy points. It just has to be, Governor Hot Wheels or whatever. It has to. Right. It just has to be kind of like a sideshow. It's not about what it actually should be, which is like the policies and what she's going to do. So I don't think she's going to have a very good midterm coming up in 2026.
No, definitely not. I'm looking. I just pulled up her profile because I'm trying to see who is this. Who is this lady? So she, let's see. It says Congresswoman. So yeah, first of all, she's a senator, right?
Yeah. Yep.
No, U.S. Who has been a she is okay. So senator, big deal. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett represents portions of Dallas and Tarrant counties with the cities of Dallas, Grand Prairie, DeSoto, Cedar Hill, Lancaster, Duncan. So it looks like more towards Dallas.
Oh, towards Dallas. Yep.
Let's see here.
The 30th district of
Yeah.
Texas.
So, yeah. Yeah, but just
She's a
all
representative. She's in the House of Representatives.
okay. God, she's not a senator. God bless. Oh, here it is. Yeah, you're right. Member of the yeah. Texas House of Representatives from the 100th District.
So her vote could
Member
get
of the
washed out
U.S.
a lot
House.
easier.
Yeah. Okay, so member of the U.S. House of Representatives from Texas's 30th District. Okay. So, anyways, what was the point with that? Oh, yeah. That just the inability to present yourself. Yeah, so here's the thing with the lack of leadership in politics, right? Pompino, everybody talking about Pompino who's around him talks about his leadership abilities, which is really important because leadership is how you run an effective business. It's how you run an effective army. This is how you run an effective country. You need leadership. You need people that you can actually go to for direction, for guidance, for influence. They give you the mandate. They give you here's the roadmap, here are the coordinates, and then you just go ahead and execute. When you have leadership like that, you can actually get shit done. That's how you get things done. If you don't have leadership, everybody's not on the same page. Nobody's working towards the same goals. It's a shit show, just like last administration, where they got the auto pen fucking doing everything. The leadership for the last 4 years was an auto pen. It was a fucking. That's also a scandal. That's outrageous. That is outrageous to me.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't talked
They
about
were
that yet.
Crockett's gonna get off easy because that auto pen is insane. When I saw that, again, talk about a disgrace. They made a great point about this, and this is not biased. Now, I'm being fair because I'm gonna make some points too about the right that I thought of this week too. To do an auto pen for this level of documents that you're signing, pardons for criminals, you know, documents that are literally sending missiles to blow up people, war. I mean, an auto pen signing documents that affect 350 million people across the United States plus millions across the globe, signed by an auto pen. That is a scandal of scandals. How is that possible? How is that legal? An auto pen.
It can mean two different things. It can mean one, it was obviously not him signing it and doing those things, which I think is the correct answer. So it was somebody else who was like, okay, we have to get this out. What's this? Drag and drop it in, boom, boom, get it out. All right, it's official, it's done. Or two, it was carelessness, and he actually did kind of know. I think it could be the first one, but also the second one where people tell him, like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, da 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 da. But then the fine print, it was maybe a little bit different. So it was them trying to, finesse their way around what they actually told them, and then be like, okay, let's put it in an official document, but change it a little bit. And then he's like, okay, he signs off on it, whatever. So it's one of those two, which could be the only options. The only other option would be he's using the computer and actually doing it, but I don't think that's what it was. There's no shot in hell that's what it was. So yeah, it's a huge scandal that I'm sure they're going to bring up and they're going to look into.
Yeah. And they were saying how that because the auto pen had signed the pardons, there's precedent for that, saying that you can't auto pen a pardon, so those pardons should be null and void for those individuals. So Fauci, careful there, Harry.
That's the one
Careful,
everyone
Harry.
wants.
That's the one everybody wants, Dr. Fauci. Careful there, Harry. And Dr. Fauci, another point, right? You don't have to accept pardons. People who say, and this happened for some of the January 6th committee, the people that were trying to put these people in jail, Some of them did not accept the pardons that the Biden administration was trying to give them because they're saying, "Oh, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just doing exactly what I was supposed to do on this committee." Great, respectable. You didn't do anything wrong. You don't believe you should be in trouble for anything. Don't take the pardon. Fauci says, "I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do any da 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 da." Accepts the pardon. Well, hold on a second. Why did you accept the pardon then? I thought I thought you didn't do anything wrong. I thought you weren't. So why'd you accept it? So yeah, basically what happened at the end of the last administration is they're in there in the Oval Office or wherever they're at, hiding, auto penning all these pardons for all these people in Bombino, fucking Biden bum Bumden. He's freaking on the beach
Yep.
like a corpse as they're fucking signing away pardons. So this should not be allowed. This should not absolutely not be allowed because people are greasy. What do you think they're going to do? You think everybody's just going to operate out of good faith and the president who's mentally incapacitated, not capable of understanding what it is that he's signing, you don't think that they're going to take advantage of the fact that they can just auto pen any document and it's valid? People are greasy, especially whenever you're playing a high stakes game like running the United States, the leader of the free world. You don't think people are going to take advantage of that? You don't think there's some type of incentive for people to be, you know, not not doing things by the book? That's such a bad thing to allow to happen. That's not good.
And the reason why they lied for so long, saying, "Oh no, he's good, he's fine," every single day, when obviously people could see it in the media and in the news. That's why they were doing it, so they could keep doing that. But oh, he's completely fine. He's signing all these documents, da 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 da. But in reality, he wasn't. He was incompetent, and they were going through and auto penning everything and just flying out the door documents. So what are you supposed to do in that situation if you it's like, what is Biden supposed to do? He doesn't know what's going on. They're sending out documents in his behalf. Complete, and like you said, it's like no one's going to act in 100% good faith. So right then, some of those were slimy. Some of them, yeah, well, you could take the Fauci part and maybe it was, maybe they had a little backdoor stuff they were talking about, give him the pardon. But no one's going to act in 100% good faith. So right there, you already know some of them have to be bad and some whatever they did. I mean, it goes to show, look at, with Doge, all this incredible spending, things that were approved that went here, USAID, the Department of Defense is a black hole budget. Who knows where some of that money went. So it was a front for that was the operation. The operation was get Biden in. He's the showman. Seriously, he's just, you
Right.
go in front of the cameras, you're the president, and then backdoor, we're signing all the documents, we're signing all this, we're doing this, we're sending money here, we're going to start a war here. And it was a complete mess, a complete shit show for 4 years. We had to deal with that. And I'm so glad it's over. And if the Democrats keep going at the rate that they're going, they're not going to win an election for decades. Because the main thing is they just don't have policy. They have nothing to run on other than we hate Trump. Well, guess what? Trump's going to be gone in 3 years, and you're not going to have that stick anymore. Then what's the stick now? Elon Musk is, a Nazi, or what is it? Like, what's the stick? Because Elon's not going to run for president. Who are you going to attack? Is it going to be J.D. Vance? Is it going to be Marco Rubio? So those guys need to be extra careful in what they do over the next 3.5 years to not – it's like – they pretty much have let's say a 64-0 lead in the second quarter of a football game right now. Like,
Decimating.
They're killing them in the start of the second quarter, and all they need to do is hold that lead, and they'll win the next election and maybe the next 3 after that.
No, you're right. And it's true because you look at the left and you can't objectively say that there's anybody impressive over there or anyone who's providing leadership, anybody who's providing interesting, well thought out, logical ideas. Like you said, their whole game is talk about how shit the other side is. That's not a sustainable strategy to be effective in politics or to be effective in your leadership. Because you just think about it on a individual level. Okay, so I run a business. Okay, so you run a business. And imagine you as the owner of this business, the way that you provide leadership to the people you're trying to attract to your company and the people that you're trying to develop is by at all times just talking about how shit the other companies they could have worked for are. That company shit, they won't take care of it. But at no point do you ever talk about what you're going to be able to do for them. You're not talking about the vision of your company. You're not talking about what products you're going to sell. You're not developing anybody. You're not providing them any value in any way whatsoever, other than the fact that you're just talking about how shitty the other companies you could have worked for are. What kind of business do you have there? Like,
That's a great analogy.
that's exactly what they're doing. Their whole strategy is these people are Nazis. These people are racist. These people, when clearly they're not. So it's a disrespect to the intelligence of the American people to try to convince them of these things to be true when they're obviously not, right? Elon made a great point about how they keep calling him a Nazi. And he goes, listen, the Nazis weren't bad because of their hand gestures. The Nazis weren't bad because of what they wore. The Nazis were bad because they invaded Poland, because they committed a genocide. That's why the Nazis are bad. You look at Elon's track record, I'm not really seeing anything that really matches any of that kind of behavior. So what are you talking about?
Yeah. They've a lot of them has gone off the rails, which we've known for a long time. But yeah, with the Tesla stuff, like Tesla was the crown jewel for the Democrats, like not even 6 years ago. You know, it was the climate change agenda. You know, we need electric cars, electrical vehicle mandates. In California, they were gonna not sell gas cars in 2030. How crazy! Like once 2030 hit, you wouldn't have been able to buy a gas car in California. That's how much they love Tesla electric vehicles, everything they were doing from an energy perspective. Now we know a lot of that was the money laundering, the climate change or
Hmm.
the climate agenda. It was just ways to line pockets. It was ways to push more regulation down our throat on things we didn't need or things we didn't want because there's a
Hmm.
market for electric cars. They say it's maybe 15 to 20% of the market. Okay, great. That's still a lot of cars in today's day and age. But the truth is 80% of people don't want electric cars. A lot of people that buy cars have multiple cars. Maybe they get one
Right.
Tesla and then they want to go out and they want to buy a Lamborghini. Maybe they want to go out, they want to buy a nice Mercedes Benz, you know? And that's the freedom of choice. And I thought that's what this country was about, freedom. But just another point on, what we were saying before and kind of how it got so bad. Maybe the Biden auto pen and the pardons and everything that was happening. I think it was, and maybe COVID was kind of the kickstart of this on the back end. It could have been, who knows how it happened, but just like to theorize a little conspiracy, I think it was the globalist agenda. Why else would you open the southern border, northern border, pour in drugs, pour in fentanyl, pour in millions and millions of people from all around the globe? Why would you have no tariffs on any other country in the whole world, but every other country has tariffs on us? So we don't make a single dollar off of other countries in terms of tariffs, and they make billions upon billions of money off of us because we are the largest consumers, the United States. We consume stuff from every country. We're the largest consumers. We talked about that before. Americans will buy anything. So why in foreign policy are we giving away trillions of dollars, USAID, fundraising, climate agenda, no tariffs? Why are we giving away so much money, but then we're bringing in millions of people and drugs? Like, tell me how it makes
Hmm.
sense. If you're bringing in more people, you need more revenue to take care of this. And then plus, if you have 320 million people, citizens that are already there and they need Social Security, they need Medicare, they need benefits, they need new housing, they need hurricane relief, they need earthquake relief, fire relief in California. And FEMA doesn't have any money because they're spending money on migrant hotels in New York City. It doesn't make any sense. Is it a globalist agenda that they're trying to, make the United States a socialist country that, you could go here and this is just where you go if you need help. Like, you can't survive in France anymore because, you're homeless or something. Just go to the United States. They'll take care of you for free. Was that the agenda? Well, were we going to get away from capitalism where you have to work for your dollar and then you could do whatever you want with the money that you get? Or is everybody just going to live off a government paycheck and government housing? So I think,
Hmm.
that's a theory I've been thinking about a lot recently, especially with the tariffs, because April 2nd is coming up, and that's a big day where a lot of reciprocal tariffs are going to kick in. We're going to see a lot of money coming in from different things. I already saw India is going to start lowering their tariffs. But I'm just curious on your thought on that theory of the globalism, trying to pretty much try to kill the United States.
I agree because as you were saying that, it was making me think two groups of people. So the globalists who want to unify the world, not unify it in a good way where everybody's peaceful, everybody's together. No, basically run the world in a conglomerate and have everybody under control under the same rules. And so yeah, those people trying to destroy the United States. There's also a group of people in the US who aren't necessarily the globalists themselves who just hate the United States because they think it's racist or they think that the history of our country is so bad and it's so terrible that they just want to see the country fail. They want to give, everybody these DEI opportunities and make everything effectively equal outcome as opposed to equal opportunity. And so that would be the other group of people. It's the people who hate the country, people who think that the country's such a terrible history that doesn't deserve to exist. We have to recreate it in a different light and start over, etc. These people who are just beyond privileged and beyond ignorant to the opportunity that they have in this country and how fantastic this country is and how free this country is, so ignorant to it that they want to tear it down and destroy it. And these are the same people who have never been to actually oppressive countries, actually have seen actual poverty, what most nations in this world look like. The United States, the people who are born here and live here that then hate this country and think it's so terrible are fucking ignorant because they think that the US and the way that the US operates is just how everywhere is and how everywhere should be. Now, should everywhere be this free if they could be? Yeah. But is that how the majority of the world works? Fuck no. The United States is in the minority. Most countries are not anything like the US. So they want to destroy this nation because they hate it so much, not understanding that this is the best place in the world that you could be. Do
Hmm.
you not understand that? And so that's the other group of people that are trying to destroy it. They think that the US is just so terrible because it was so bigoted and racist how they set up this country when it's there's nothing better for them to do. So that's the road that they go down. They create these problems that don't exist as opposed to focusing on what's the actual benefit of moving our society forward as opposed to trying to tear it down and go backwards and fix the wrongs of the past, which were there wrongs in the past? Yeah, everybody makes mistakes, but it doesn't mean you destroy all the progress in the country that you built from it.
Yeah.
It's like obviously we did something right because it's the greatest country in the world. So they did something right, right?
Yeah, the racism one is crazy because if you actually know history and you study, like, slaves were around for thousands of years before the United States was even created, right? We had Korean slaves. Korea had like millions upon millions of slaves when they were fighting the Mongols in China, and the North Atlantic slave trade, the European countries trading with African countries before, probably in the late 1500s, 1600s, and then it wasn't until the United States was founded in 1776, slaves probably started coming around in the early 1700s. But the country was founded in 1776, and slavery was abolished in 1865 when Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation at the end of the Civil War, declaring that they won the Civil War, slavery was outlawed. So that's like 90 years. The country, think about the thousands and thousands of years that slavery was around, and people were trafficked all around the world, and it took the United States 90 years as a country to realize, hey, this is bad. We can't, based on our Constitution and based on all men being equal, we can't have this in our society. So it took our founding fathers 90 years. Abraham Lincoln officially did it. That's why he's one of the GOATs. That's how he's remembered, as opposed to, how he died. But he, changed the course of the world, because think about where the world would be if that never existed. Europe had slaves until the late 1800s after us, and they still have problems with the African countries. So I'm just saying, laying the all out there, that this is not the most racist country in the world. It's probably the least, because look at the diversity of all the people from all around the world that come here. So it's insane to me that we're still on this topic. After years and years of years, you think after you have a black president, things would change, but no. I think it actually made it worse in some ways, because that was still a talking point for him to get elected, and then thereafterwards. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I agree with you 100% that this is the best place to live for that kind of stuff, for that kind of culture.
Anybody who still plays the race card or thinks that that's a prime issue, they're lying to themselves, they're lying to other people. It's not a thing.
Crockett.
Okay? Yeah, Crockett. It's not a thing, Crockett. Nobody thinks like that anymore, especially the new generation, the young generation. Nobody thinks that way. Okay? 100 years ago, yes. We had to get through things. We had to fix things. We had to reintegrate society with blacks and whites, etc. Sure, it's not a thing anymore. Stop talking about it. Stop playing it. It's not. It doesn't exist. People aren't racist in this country. It's the most diverse country in the world with the most immigrants, legal immigrants. Now the most illegal, which is unfortunate. But that's what's so fantastic about the country. And to try to play this narrative that, oh, the U.S. is so bad because we had slaves. Like you said, slavery existed for all of human time. I'm reading the Bible right now every night before bed. In the Bible, in these stories in the Old Testament, what do they talk about? They're slaves. They're servants. They had slaves too. So it's just something that existed throughout all of human time. Is it right? Of course not. Nobody's defending it, but you don't destroy the progress. You don't destroy the nation, all the fantastic things that have come of this nation just because of one mistake in the past. Does not make sense. You don't do that. People make mistakes.
And it's not like we started that mistake. The mistake was already there, and then it just came into, it was inherited. That was an inherited mistake from, and from the North Atlantic slave trade.
And I was going to say, the other thing that they hate to talk about? Who were the people selling the slaves? Who was rounding them up and selling them?
It was the African kings.
It was the Africans. They were selling their own people. It wasn't like the Europeans and the Americans went over to Africa themselves, got off these boats and said, all right, gentlemen, let's go run out into the African continent and start rounding these people up. No, the Africans would sell them. They would do it.
They had their own slaves.
Would have them ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they enslaved their own people, and then they would just sell more to the Europeans. But then they don't say that to you. No, it's the white man's fault. The white man's racist. The white man's in charge. It's all about bad white people. Fugaz, you're lying to yourself. It's not white people. They just showed up on the shore, and the Africans were selling them the fucking slaves themselves. They have the slaves. So, you want to talk about racist? Africa is one of the most racist continents in the world. Do you see what's happening in South Africa? You see the laws that they have against white people. And then you have the clan fighting between. I mean, you have the Houthis and what was the other name? It was one that we learned about. I remember growing up in school. Whenever they had the two groups, one was tall and skinny, the other ones were short and something, and there's a complete genocide against each other within this African country. I forget the names of the groups, but I mean, just my point is, it exists there too. It's not a white man's problem. It's not a white man's thing, and so they want to put everything on the white man. The white man. That's the worst thing you can be in the United States. These people want to attack. Oh, if you're a white and a male, nobody can be racist towards you. That's another good one. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I actually just saw Piers Morgan had a lady on, and that one college swimmer who got beat by the trans swimmer, Lily Phillips. Man. Yeah, she got beat by him, and now she was at the White House for the women in sports thing, but she was on Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan was saying something, and he's like, "Wow, that's a very racist thing to say." Like towards him, she said something towards the white man, and she was like, "I can't be racist. I'm black. How can I be racist?" So the thought doesn't even enter their head that they could possibly be racist. Well, it's a true, especially like you said in South Africa, there is a big situation going on there with white farmers, and they're going around lynching white farmers in South Africa just because they're white. So, what would you say to the minority of the people? So the people are the minority of white people in South Africa. What would you say to them? Is that racism, or no? It can't be because I don't know. But no, but those are the people on these talk shows talking about this stuff. It's insane.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not. You can't be racist towards white people. That's just that right there is a logic fail. It does not work. That does not work. That's not how you create peace. It's not how you create unity. That's just literally you being racist back. That doesn't work like that. So you don't fight. You don't fight fire with fire. You got to let that shit go and leave that in the past. So yeah, it just that the thinking is broken for a lot of these people, and that's why you don't get progress out of them. And that's why the left is dying, because they're trying to fight for issues that either don't exist and people don't care about and know not to be true. So either fighting for issues that don't exist, or from the issues that do exist in terms of, let's say, trans athletes competing with women, they take the minority stance on it on all of these issues.
The 10,
so they want to be the 20% on an 80-20.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, nobody wants that. So why do you think you're losing support from your party? The vast majority of people don't want dudes competing with their daughters in sports. That is, anybody who believes that should be okay is not mentally well. There's just a logic fail. You don't have men compete with women. Doesn't make sense. It's just very simple. So, and then they take the stance like, no, yes, they should. Yes, they should. And then that's how you lose support, because people are like, you're fucking insane. It's not rooted in any kind of science. The science says, no, you don't do that, because the men are, number one, just competitively going to destroy the women. So it's not even fair, because now the women don't even get to enjoy their own sports. And then two, it's dangerous, because you see the girl at the State of the Union address who got she got paralyzed, right? No, she was.
Are you saying the volleyball girl?
Temporarily. Yeah, the volleyball girl who gets spiked in the face
Yeah.
by the dude and gave her brain damage because of how hard he spiked the fucking ball in her face.
Yeah, she got like knocked out cold and had some problems. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is keeping the women safe. This is women's rights. No, even the women are saying, why are these dudes competing with us? Why don't you listen to the women? I thought it was supposed to be listen to the women, right? They're telling you, yeah, we don't want to get our records defeated by 5 hours. Like that one race Trump was talking about, by 5 hours. How is that? What are you talking about? What are you doing?
I don't know if you remember, but that was like a South Park episode way back in the day. I want to say like, I don't know, maybe like when we graduated high school, 2015-16 time. It was, they were interviewing a sports athlete on South Park, and they're like, hey, you're going up against Susie Hamrick today. And she's like, oh, I'm so excited to go against a trans athlete. And then they show it's like the real buff guy. He's like, I can't wait to compete today. It's one of the best South Park clips ever. But that's what I always think about. But just one more point just to round up this point, and then I had one more other I wanted to talk about. I think a lot of it kind of can get put on the back burner now with Trump putting in that the DEI stuff in the government, and a lot of private companies are doing it as well. I think DEI in terms of hiring aspect, no good. It's like we talked about with you can't see racism in different areas, right? But I do believe in the aspect of when you're in a culture, when you're in a company, it's good to learn other people's cultures, and it's good to learn about other people's things. Like, let's say like a Puerto Rican meeting, right? You learn about Puerto Rican culture, you learn about what they live by, and just whatever they do, in their culture. That's great to learn by. Like, I think people should have those types of meetings within companies, within different sectors, right? I think it's good to learn about other cultures. I don't think it's good to hire people based on, oh, you're Puerto Rican? Well, yeah, we only got 0.07% Puerto Ricans in our company. We got to get that number up. That's not good. We need a merit-based hiring system, which I think the DEI system going away will hopefully implement. But I do want to just say, because people could get it twisted, I do think it's a great thing to learn about other cultures. And I think that's where America separates itself from a lot of other countries. And Europe's pretty good at this too, because they all live so close to each other. But it's learning different cultures, having a melting pot of culture and different food. You go to New York City, you could eat any cuisine on the entire planet. Los Angeles, same thing. You go there, you could have Indian food, you could have Italian food, you could have Chinese food, you could eat anything you want in majority of major cities in the United States. So that is what DI should be. That is, culture, melting pot, learning different people, conversating, using techniques in cooking. That is what it should be. But that's what we got away from in the recent years, of just like strictly looking at it from a numbers perspective. Okay, 1% of our workers are Indian American, right? You gotta balance it out. One, it's not fair to the people that actually can do the job at a high level, no matter what their skin color is, right? That's not fair to them if you're going to hire based on that. And number two, you have to incentivize people, which would be with pay and benefits, right? That's how an economy works, to want to work. If you know you can't get a job based on the color of your skin, you won't do anything, right? That's just what we talked about, segregation ending in 1865 at the end of the Civil War. That's what we were ending. So why would you try to bring that stuff back?
Great point. That's what I'm saying. It shouldn't even be a question. It shouldn't be even something that they ask, even on a job application, because if you don't want to be racist, then you don't pay attention to it. They think that they're being not racist because they're prioritizing a different race. That's still racist. DEI is racist. Why? Because it's based upon race. If you want to not be racist, then what do? You don't talk about, or you don't include race. It's binary. But they think because it's racist against the white man, it's not racist. That's the lie that they've told themselves. If it's racist against white people, it's not racist. No, that's not how it works. It's still racist. You're still doing it based upon race. If you choose somebody because of their race in an effort for equality, by proxy, that means you're also not choosing somebody based off of their race. That's racist. It doesn't matter if you're giving it to them because of their race. You're inherently being racist to the other group who you don't give that benefit to, that non-minority group. And this is why white people, you hear some people making this point, like Tate, and he's right. He's like, white people are going to go extinct. They're going to let themselves go extinct because not having enough kids, and they're letting other people just start to walk all over them. It's like, no, you're being racist towards white people by doing that. Nobody should get precedent over their race. So, and the other thing that does is to the people who did get their positions based off of merit, to the women who did get their positions based off of merit, to the minorities who did get their positions based off of merit. Now you put them in the situation where now other people are going to look at them and say, well, was that just a DEI hire? Are they actually competent? Are they actually capable? Now you have to question it because you don't know if it was a DEI hire or not. So now you also put those people in a bad situation. Maybe they genuinely were the best for the job. They just happened to be a woman or happened to be black or Mexican or whatever. You take away their success. So DEI is insane. Should never have been a thing. Whatever happened to just hiring somebody because, oh, this guy's a fucking savage hired? That's what it should be. Doctors, lawyers, surgeons, airplane pilots, all should be merit. If you have DEI and anything like that, where it especially has to do with people's lives, you are out of your mind. Should never, not, especially not when people's lives are in danger or lives are in your hands. There should be no such thing as DEI anywhere in those places.
And
you're dealing with people's lives.
And that's why I'm really excited to see what they do with the Department of Education, because One, it was just so bloated, so big. I do think there should be a federal Department of Education, but of course, way shrunken down. Not as many, not as much power per se. Not a big of a budget. There should be, an overarching to make sure the whole country as a whole has a curriculum that we're following, and make sure that we have standards as a country of what we're doing. That's what they should be doing. They shouldn't be giving out all these grants and all this government. But I'm really excited because it's going to come. It's going to start to become a competition between states, like which kids are the smartest in which state. And you're going to start to see kids that grow up in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is pretty good academically. I think we're, higher mid growing up statistically. But you're going to start to see states that are good at education start to get more kids for high school, start to go get more kids for college because their education's better. And now they're going to start to be able to implement their own plan. So maybe states you didn't think about that have good education, like Iowa, like Wisconsin, a lot of Midwest states have very good education. You're going to start to see those kind of states attract new students because they're going to be able to get a better education there. And what does that mean? The better education you get, if you go to college, you're not, you don't just stop after high school, those higher paying jobs. Not saying you have to go to college in this day and age, but just an example. Maybe you get a better job. Maybe you go get an engineering job as opposed to getting a job somewhere else, a mechanic shop, because you could be a mechanic, carpenter, that kind of stuff out of high school. So I'm just excited for that reason because, like you said, it's going to implement the merit base. So you're going to know which students did better growing up, and they're going to be more qualified for those entry-level jobs. Mm-hmm. And, it's gonna feed into the workforce that, okay, we implemented this Department of Education. Each state is very competitive in how they run their state education. Now we're seeing that kids in high school in Iowa are most likely to go to Ivy League schools, or New York City kids are most likely to go to Ivy League schools. And you're going to start to see the trickle-down effects of what a good Department of Education can actually do. So that was just a point I wanted to make,
Yeah, it's good to put that in the state's hands because the states are going to know best for their individual population for something like education, what they need and what direction they need to go in. So make it competitive, make them have to compete, make them have to bring people back to their state. You see what happened with California as soon as they become non-competitive, as soon as they become incompetent, what happens to their population? People are fleeing the state like never before for years now, years. That should tell you something, Gavin Newsom. That should tell you something, leadership of California. If your state is hemorrhaging people to go find opportunity, to go get away from the high taxes, to go get away from the incompetent leadership, that should tell you, maybe we should change our approach. Maybe we should do something a little bit differently. Maybe we should improve our system. Maybe we should take care of our people better as opposed to the illegal immigrants coming across the border and making sure that they're in a sanctuary city or they have all their benefits paid for free by the government, even though our own citizens don't get those same benefits. Maybe you should change your approach because you're hemorrhaging people. It's data. Look at the numbers, right? Again, everything goes back to business. When you look at things in a business setting, there's no room for, what's a good word for it? There's no fluff. There's no bullshit. When you're looking at things from strictly a numbers perspective, does this make money or not make money? Whether you're left, right, gay, tranny, fucking, straight, doesn't matter. When it comes to business and making money, the numbers are the numbers, and people can all agree on that. Mm-hmm. That's how you got to look at a state too. People don't treat politics the same way. They want to give these arbitrary ideas and these ideologies precedent over what actually works and what actually makes sense. And this is why their states or their political parties start to fail, because it's not based in what actually makes sense. If you want to grow a business, you do what's best for the people in your company. You do what makes money. You pay attention to what makes money, and that's just what you do. That's how you drive the business. But California, they're not doing what makes sense from a financial standpoint. They're not doing what makes sense for their people. They're just doing whatever they believe their ideology says, and we're going to do that. And Gavin Newsom, he's not even a guy coming up with his own ideas. You see him on his podcast now. he did one with Charlie Kirk where Charlie Kirk cooked him up, and then he did a couple others where you can see that he's not coming up with any of these ideas himself. He's not critically thinking through these things. What are the consequences? What are the bad, the good, the pros, the cons? How can I lead my family? How can I lead my state? Everything is, oh, what does my party feed me? What's the ideology for our party? Okay, that's what I believe, guys. And he made that point about Latinx. Oh, I never used Latinx. What was Latinx? And then CNN gives the compilation of him using Latinx all the time. So the dude, these people don't even come up with their own ideas. It's just, oh, what's the agenda? What's the ideology now? Okay, all right, that's what I believe.
And that's
No
why the
thought
party's
process.
and that's why the party's dying, because it's the party's pretty much who could get to the top by being like the biggest pick me, like the teacher's pet. During the times of Obama, it was like people were rising through the ranks because just like, all right, we're just gonna go with whatever they say up top, and that's what you see with Kamala Harris coming up. Like she was the most left wing senator in the whole United States Congress, furthest left wing, and Joe Biden picked her for some reason. That it fit the agenda somehow. So same thing with Gavin Newsom. He, like you said, he just follows the party lines. This is what we're going to say. This is what we're going to do. And then you'll see he's going to run for president in 4 years. And who knows? He'll probably be the nominee. Who knows? Right? It could be anyone. But those are different ways that they're just getting popular. It's like, all right, the Democrat, this is the voter base. We have to go with that. But slowly the voter base is just shrinking and shrinking as they go further left. And yeah, I think the party's dying. I would love to see the United States implement like parties like Europe, where Germany, they have like 7 to 8 parties. It'd be tough because the Republicans and Democrats are so deeply rooted and they have so much funding and all this. If they ever lost power, it'd be really bad. But that's the way to make sure that these parties don't get too much power, is that you have these other parties there. And we have the Libertarian Party and some other parties. We have sometimes independent voters, but these other countries in Europe, they have 7, 8, and there's like a good amount of votes that go to these parties. And as the United States continues to get more complex, I think that's only something that benefits the country. It doesn't hurt to have more options, because when you have all your good options, like think about it, the next election it's gonna be. We talked about how many people on the Republican side can actually win the election next year. Yeah, can run and could possibly win. We got Vance, we got Marco Rubio, and there's plenty more. Tulsi Gabbard now will probably run as a Republican. Who knows? But on the left, it's like they have nobody. Who over on the left side would run and win as of right now? Nobody. That's why they lost pretty handedly.
Nobody.
So that was just something I'm thinking about, because all the good options are in one area. If you had other options in different areas, things might be different. But one more topic, just wanted to touch. Oh, wait. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You got it. Round us out there.
That's what I was gonna say with the Dems is they lost all their talent. They lost all their talent to the right, and it completely eviscerated their party, because another point where it's not even that the left, because we've been beating them up. We're beating them up because of course they deserve it, but they've gone so far to the left and so extreme. And I would have the same exact criticisms of the right too. I'm not loyal to any party. I don't give a fuck about Democrat. I don't give a fuck. I'm not loyal to anybody. I'm just, what's ridiculous right now is what I'm going to call out.
Just call it how I see
The
it.
left has gone so far left. Yeah, just calling it how I see it. They've gone so far left that the people in their party who didn't change position or change stance at all have become so alienated from the rest of the party, because the left has just gone so far left that they left all their high ticket, high level thinkers, logical individuals in a position where they had to go to the right because the left was too far left. So then Tulsi goes to the right. RFK Jr. goes to the right. Trump goes to the right. Trump was a Democrat. Elon goes to the right. Elon was a Democrat. All these people are Democrats. You talk about Joe Rogan, they talk about how he's a manosphere right-wing podcast, etc. Joe Rogan is a Democrat. People don't talk about that. He's a Democrat. He's liberal. But the left has just gone so far outrageous to the left that all these people simply could not stand for it anymore. It was too much. Rogan was going to vote for Bernie Sanders, or he did vote for Bernie Sanders,
Yeah,
right? I think this dude,
first
he's
time.
bro, he's a Democrat. Yeah. Who else? These people that they attack that were traditionally Dems. So many people. And so what was the point I was going to make? It's just, yeah, they've gone so out of touch with the American people that that's why they can't. They're not pulling the weight anymore. It's just too far out of touch. And yeah, they're gonna have to start figuring out things that they can get their people to rally behind and things to vote for, as opposed to people to hate and people to talk shit on. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. You can only talk shit and hate on so much. The people that like Trump, the people that like the right, are gonna like them regardless. There's nothing else that you can convince them of if you continue to spew hate. That's not how you win people over. You win people over by having better ideas, better policy, better leadership, better vision. That's how you win people over. You want to win people over? Give them something to actually feed off of, not just hate, 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 bad, 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 bad. Okay, well, if it's so bad, what's your plan? Oh, you don't have one? Ah, fuck it. I'm just gonna stick with these guys.
That's
What's the
pretty
goal
much
here?
what it came down to. And
Yeah, exactly.
you're right. We have been beating him up. But let's talk about something real quick that maybe the right slipped up on and this administration has slipped up on. I know you sent me something, a post from the Atlantic. One of their editors was put into a Signal group chat with all the high-level executives of the Trump administration: Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, uh, JD Vance, and some of the other security councils. I think Marco Rubio might be in there. Um, so what happened was this guy, and I saw the Secretary of Defense on Fox News last night, and he was saying that they did not purposely put him in there. So he got in there somehow that they don't know about. They're investigating. Okay, whatever. But he got in there somehow. So what they were talking about was the strikes in Yemen over the shipping ports. So the Yemen terrorists, the Houthis, however you say it, have been attacking United States military ships and also passenger ships that just want to go through the canal there and get into the Mediterranean Sea or the Red Sea. So they were talking about the process of what that entails, so to say. And some of that we could, I don't have the text in front of me, but he did post the messages, which was pretty much saying, like, JD Vance was like, listen, I hate to bail out Europe again because they should be doing this, not us, but we have to do what we have to do. We can't let them to continue to do this. And then Pete Hegseth stepped in and said, yeah, I agree. We hate to bail out Europe again, but we have to do this. This is something, that the president's green on it. Like, let's go. So this this guy was in there reading these messages and was there. He's not, he probably wasn't supposed to be in there. So what's your thought on that? He comes out afterwards, writes his article about it, behind a paywall, of course. Did you know that? He put his article behind a paywall. And so I just have one quick point before we hand it over to you. I think there's either a leak in the high-level Trump cabinet that would purposely put a journalist in there, to why else would a journalist be in this group chat with the high-level Trump executives unless they were trying to, like, talk about announcements or planning coming up? Like, so one, I think there could be a leak, or two, this guy's actually a really good journalist and finessed his way into the group chat via a different name, an alias, or had somebody, or just converse somebody to put him into the group chat.
Oh, Logan sent it. That's what it was. Okay. So let's see here. Hold on. Because it says in here how he got
Oh, it does?
added. Okay, here. So would communicate on Signal about imminent war plans. I also could not believe that the national security advisor to the president would be so reckless as to include the editor in chief of The Atlantic in such discussions with senior U.S. officials, up to and including the vice president. So it was the national security advisor to the president would be so reckless to include. So whoever the national security
Yeah.
advisor is.
So that's who I saw that was on Fox News last night. That's Mike Waltz. And he was saying that he took responsibility. He said, yes, it's my fault that he was in the group chat. But what he said when he was on Fox News last night was that he was under the impression that it was somebody else. So he had his number for this guy, but it wasn't actually him. So he said he had the name to the contact mixed up, which is where I got the idea that, okay, so this guy either conversed his way into the group chat trying to like be a different number, or this guy, maybe Mike Waltz, is playing a slime game or something. Like, how else does that happen? Do you let a journalist for The Atlantic who wrote the Russiagate hoax, who wrote all these crazy articles about President Trump the past 10 years, how do you let that guy? I can see if you let a
Right.
journalist in from CNN, you let a journalist in from MSNBC, any mainstream, but like this is a known left-wing, pretty much smear campaign magazine.
Right. Yeah, so that's a good question. And is it a big mistake by the right, by this administration? Yeah, big mistake for sure. And they're trying to say, oh, no new classified information, this, that, and the third, et cetera. Okay, fine. It's not about what did they actually get out of being in that text conversation. Okay, maybe it wasn't any classified information. The issue is the lack of security, the fact that it could happen. Okay, so that's where I'll give pushback to the right because they're trying to make it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal. At least a lot of the people coming out trying to make sure that oh yeah, yeah, it was a mistake, but it wasn't that bad, etc. No, it's bad because if it's possible, well, what if they do get into a group chat where you're talking about nuclear. Maybe you're talking about classified things that are happening in Russia, Ukraine, classified things that are happening in Israel and Palestine. Like that is a big problem. That should never be able to happen. You just accidentally have a dude in a signal group chat. You're just texting about this shit. I agree. That's not good.
Yeah.
It's a big mistake. How did it happen? Good question. The other thing that I'll mention, just semi related to that, is this campaign was built on no wars, stopping wars, peace, right? Great. So we want to stop Russia, we want to stop Ukraine, and we want to stop funding to Ukraine. Now we also have the conflict in Israel, in the Middle East. It seems like, at least what I'm gathering, we're way more willing to have the Israelis continue to fight and continue to do what they're doing. Yeah, we want peace. Yeah, we're trying to broker the deal. But I don't see the same level of urgency to end that conflict and how that should be done than I do with Ukraine and Russia. And I see Pompeo is a lot more cozied up with the Israelis than he is with obviously the Ukrainians. So my question is, well, if we're here for no war, if we're here for peace, then why are we still like what's going on here with the Middle East? This should be ended too. This should be stop the war, get it done. It needs to be done over with. I don't get that same impression with that Israeli war. The sense I'm getting from the administration is they're pro-Israel, which I don't understand why. That's my question is that's my real question. Why are we so pro-Israel? I still don't understand that. Why? I
It
don't. I mean, I'm not just asking in general
yeah.
because why? That's the thing. Like, why? Why are we pro-Israel? What is that?
So
Because
I'll give
I don't
you
know.
my interpretation of what I think it is. I think it definitely roots for originally after World War II when they started Israel. Israel is a fairly new country, and after World War II, the history books, whatever you believe or don't believe, talk about the Holocaust and having a safe place for Judaism and going there, and that's where how kind of Israel was founded after the war. And whether you agree with it or not, that's what happened. They displaced the Palestinians to create the Judah state of Israel. And ever since then, the United States claimed them as an ally. Okay. But what happened the 70 years after the war was APAC, the Israel, the American Israel Pact of,
Lobbying.
yeah, I believe American Israel Pact for American, uh, I forget what the last letter is, but that's how they fundraise for American Congress, and just they lobby. So I think so much money, because there's a lot of Jewish Americans and a lot of people that work in Europe and that are Jewish and have a alliance to Israel because it's the Jewish state. And I believe that so much money comes from those people and comes from the country that they pay off politicians. And even Trump's, one of his biggest donors was APEC, and he received tremendous amounts of money from them. And you're not going to turn your back. And it's the same thing with the Democrats. They do it different ways, and they receive money from APEC too, different people, but they do. They all do. And that's what it comes down to, is they receive money. I'm lagging here. We good?
I hear you though, because you're right, and that's a great point, because that is what it comes down to. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I think it really stems from. But I think there's a lot of also string pulling on the back end to protect them. And we've seen this over the years. They have an Iron Dome missile, and we've given them plenty of things. And there's even now stuff coming out with the JFK files. I don't know if you've dove into that deep end, that Israel wanted to create a nuclear program back in the 50s, and JFK told them, no, I don't want you to have a nuclear program. You guys are too young of a country, too unstable, especially there in the Middle East. And they said, oh, okay, we won't. But reality, they were building a nuclear program, and they had scientists. So when JFK was sending people to Israel to check up on their nuclear programs, they were building fake buildings and towns just to show the.
And you there? Yeah, I see you
Yeah,
back.
yeah, man.
Yeah, so because what had happened was when the Zionists were settling there in Israel, it started with the First World War. So basically, the British did some fugazi, which is classic empire, world, what's it called, foreign policy at the time would be basically promise a bunch of different things to a bunch of different nations and just have them fight for that, and then at the end up fucking people over. So the idea with the UK was they were promising that land to the Zionists and the Jews, and the Zionists being the ones that group who were going to go colonize Israel. But they were also promising it to, I forget the name of the group, but it was a Middle Eastern country where they had warriors fighting in that front over there in Eastern Europe and in the Middle East, fighting for the UK, the British Empire during World War One. And so they kept promising this piece of land to the Zionists and to that group fighting for them, and saying, "Oh yeah, we'll give it to you. We'll give it to you. It's going to be yours. You guys, this is what you guys are fighting for. We're going to make sure you guys get taken care of, etc." And the war comes. Who do they give it to? Not the Middle Easterners. They give it to the Zionists. Why? Well, because the Jews had a lot of influence in the UK and in Parliament and in that world at the
Hmm.
time. That's where the Rothschilds are. The Rothschilds were funding a lot of that as well. The building of the Israeli state, and so they ended up giving it to the Zionists. World War II comes. That whole situation happens. Great. Now they create the actual state of Israel, make it official. That's going to be there, right? Well, that's how they got the land. Now, of course, before that, all the the Palestinians were there. So the point I was going to make with this is, yeah. So it's such a new state, and what they're trying to do there is so aggressive that it's going to be hard to find peace because they don't want to share it in any way, that land, right?
Yeah.
That's the big issue is they don't want any inclusion, sharing, being able to live together in peace. They want to keep it separate. And that was the big thing that scared the Arabs, the Palestinians, whenever the Zionists first came over, is that the Zionists were making it sound like that they were going to integrate, they were going to work with the people, they were going to be a part of the community. We want to share the land, but it's clear very early on that's not what their goal was. They kept separate. They were building their own things, building their own facilities, trying to push out the Palestinians, get their political power, buy up land, and keep themselves separate so that they could create this own state for themselves. And then, of course, for the Palestinians who've been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, they're thinking, well, you guys are kicking us out of our own land. But then, of course, the Jews are saying, well, the land was promised to us through the Old Testament by God in the covenant.
Yeah.
So it's it's such a difficult situation to have to deal with. But in my opinion, I just don't. It shouldn't be something that the U.S. is funding and caring about from a standpoint that, oh, we just got to make sure that we get the Palestinians out here and we completely redevelop the land. No, it just should be stop the war. You guys figure it out. Make sure that there's no nuclear presence out there. But we're not funding this. We're not protecting you, etc. I don't see how it's our war to be fought, how it's our world to be involved in. That's
Yeah.
the only thing for me. It's just I don't get it.
Yeah, I agree. And if you look at videos and pictures of what's left over there in Gaza, of where Palestine, it's completely leveled. It's decimated. I don't know, how much fighting is even left to be done over there because everything is completely mangled and leveled. But just
Yeah,
to,
it's destroyed.
yeah, and I agree. I don't understand either. That's the toughest foreign policy thing out there. I think Ukraine or Russia can end a lot simpler. But just to kind of like wrap this back, we did the Trump weave there. To wrap this back to
Yeah.
the signal and the national security thing and why this stuff is super important because the left is going to, and why I think they messed up as well, based on your point as well, national security, that kind of stuff. They messed up in another way is they gave the left a talking point, right? They gave the left a talking point like, oh, look at this. Look at what they're doing. This is their war. They're trying to start new wars. They're trying to, do this, and it's national security risk, blah, 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 whatever you want to say. All right, it's all fair. But when it comes to the war stuff, and I've noticed this now about Trump, he doesn't want to fight wars. What he does is very specific military operations to go in and eliminate people and cut the head off of it before it ever gets to a war. So what he did was he took out all the strategic headquarters, head people in for the Yemens there. And so it's done. It's done and it's over with. So that's the strategy he takes in this, is that he cuts the head off and he goes for it and it's done. It's over with. It doesn't have to be a drawn out long process. So I think some of the things of what they talk about is not true in that aspect of other things. But that's all I had related to that. Just wanted to kind of wrap that out. But any thoughts on that, kind of the actual specific, the specifics of just cutting the head off and doing it that way as opposed to a long drawn
Yeah.
out process with boots on the ground?
This is how you know. This is how you know Trump understands leadership, because that's another leadership saying that the fish rots from the head. Okay. So whenever a leader is in place of an organization and his organization's falling apart, or his organization's not running as it should be, or he's not growing the same way that he should have been growing, you say, well, the fish rots from the head. So it's you. It's your fault. You're the leader, right? Because everything rises and falls on leadership. So it's intelligent for Trump to do that because he understands, well, if you cut the head off, if you take away the leadership, if you take away the vision, the people that's holding this organization together, the organization is going to eventually dissolve, scatter, because there's no longer that one head keeping everybody united towards one goal, one vision. That's how important leadership is. You cut the head off, you kill the fucking snake. So that's the best way to do it, 100%, because it's the least amount of casualties with the biggest effect on the organization. You can take out the head, you take out the organization. The fish rots from the head. So yeah, because as soon as the vision's gone, as soon as the leadership's gone, it's hard to get people to come together against a common goal, common vision. If you get a power ship or if you get a leadership struggle in an organization as well, now there's going to be infighting, different groups that want to have this leader or this person in place. People are going to be struggling for that. Whenever you have a leader in place and you guys already know that this is the guy, none of that exists. So when you have that power vacuum, something has to fill it, and there's going to be the struggle. So yeah, it's an effective way to destroy an organization. You take away the leader, the organization scatters. That's how it works.
Yep. And it's also why
So yeah,
the U.S.
I like it.
military is
It's
so
effective.
strong. It's because we have power on the waters, right? No other country has as much power on the waters as we do. So we could minimize our human death by being out on the water. If someone shoots a missile at it, a boat, and it misses, it hits the water. It's not going to hit, you know, Delaware, right? So if people were coming on shore trying to hit United States people and they're aiming for civilians on land, you're going to get a lot more casualties. But when you're out in the waters fighting, you're actually killing people that are trying to fight these wars. And um, I actually just bought a book. It's called War's a Racket. It's on its way. War's a Racket by General, what's his name? Let me see this real quick. General Smedley D. Butler. I believe he was
Smidley D.
Smedley D. He was a general in the First World War, and he wrote a book about why war is a racket and who makes money when wars start and kind of why wars start. So I'm interested to read it. It's a quick read from what I read. It's only like 40 some pages, but he wrote it while he was retired after the war, and it kind of goes to like why wars start. Ultimately, you know, we talked about Israel and Palestine, and actually like why is this war happening? Well, a lot of it has to do with money. Today, it's definitely more complex than it was 100 years ago when Smedley D. Butler was writing his book. So, interested to read that. I'll report back on that for you. But it came up
Nice.
because somebody told me about it, that it was a quick read. So I thought I'd get it and see what he has to say, Smedley D. Butler.
I bet Spindley's got some good insight. But it makes sense. Everything since human time, the beginning of human time has been resources. That's why you go to war. You go to war for resources. Well, what's the major resource now? It's money. It's fiat. It's currency. So that's why people go to war. That's not the secret. It's the secret is who's the one making the money? Who's starting the wars? And how do you prevent that? How do you prevent the wars from happening? Because any war is bad. Okay? Unless you have a true existential crisis, people are impeding on your freedoms, impeding on your rights, then you have to do what you have to do. Absolutely, I agree. But starting a war simply for the sake of acquiring resource, acquiring that's also why it's so muddied the water when it comes to war because everybody believes they're right.
Yep.
It's just there is no wrong in war. This side believes they're right, this side believes they're right. That's why they're both willing to die for it. That's what's interesting about war. For two sides to literally be willing to die for something, that means that they believe with all their heart, all their soul, that they're correct because they're willing to die for it. So, in order to have a war, you have to have two parties that think that way. Well, it's difficult to resolve a conflict when both people are willing to kill the other person because they believe that they're right. So how are you gonna mitigate this? How are you gonna prevent this from continuing to happen? Yeah, it's difficult situation, but the end all be all should be peace. Should be peace should be the answer, the option that we should all go for. Anybody who calls for war, anybody who prefers war, anybody who says you should, no, no. These are all people who don't have to go fight the wars themselves. There would be a completely different attitude if the people in America who are so hungry for this war in Israel, so hungry for this war in Ukraine, so hungry for these things that they themselves were getting drafted like the Ukrainian men and getting put out into the front line to go face these unmanned drones that are going to come out of the sky and blow up and kill you. If that was you, all of a sudden you're not so for Ukraine, are you? The college students on these campuses that are, oh, I'm stand with Ukraine. Da, da. You look at them and you see what they look like. These people would shit themselves if you saw them on the side of the street and you said, all right, let's fight. Just fist to fist. They'd shit themselves. Pussies, cowards. But then they want to call for these young men who are actual heroes on the battlefield, brave, going to die for a cause that doesn't even have anything to do with them. They want to call for that. Who the fuck are you? Who are you? Anybody who supports a war and calls for a war, should they themselves have to suit up and go fight it? Otherwise, you don't get to have an opinion on it if it comes down to continuing that war. So all these people
Yeah.
talking about Ukraine, 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 they got to continue to fight. You go fight. You go. Go ahead. Go fight. No, 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 no. There's got to be them that die. Shut the fuck up, you fucking cowards.
Yeah,
It's always the cowards that want people to fight.
war is, war is terrible. I think a lot of the problems would be solved if the United States had better relations with Russia and China, because it's the three largest militaries on the planet. You obviously don't want the three largest militaries on the planet having conflict or beef with each other. If we're in good relations with Russia and we're in good relations with China, that's stability for North America, Europe, Asia, majority of the population of this planet. And we have outliers, like we said, Israel, the Middle East, kind of there's conflicts that arise there. But if you have the three largest military powers in the world on good terms, maybe even allies, like nobody is going to act up in that sense, because they know, okay, well, the United States, Russia, and China are all friendly now. If we start acting up and we start doing bad things, they're just going to come here and obliterate us. So we can't do that. Why? What is so? I just don't understand the whole
Yep.
thing about Russia, and China. China. Listen, China is our biggest threat from an economic standpoint, which will ultimately feeds into the military, right? That's how the military makes money, is through the economy and taxes of people. So China's a big threat economically because they make so much money in manufacturing. That's why Trump is doing everything he's doing from a tariff perspective, manufacturing perspective, is to reboot us to get back to keep up with them. But it doesn't hurt to have good relations when shit hits the fan and say a country like Brazil just gets nuclear weapons and they start acting tough and start acting out of pocket and start doing crazy things. You need to be on good relations with them in order to deter these other countries from stepping out of line and doing something crazy like that. But it's a big no-no. It's a big
Yep.
no-no if you bring that up to someone who hates Russia.
Yeah, it's not smart. It's not smart to be adversarial with Russia and push Russia closer to China. Russia doesn't want to go to the east. They don't want to go towards China and go towards the. Russia would prefer, with somebody like Putin in place, would prefer to have good relationships with the West.
Hmm.
I would say that they identify with the West a bit more than they do with the East, right? I'm not from Russia, so I may be wrong in saying that, but that's the image I get. That's the impression I get. Putin is very pro-West, Western civilization. And so when you can have somebody like Trump and Putin be in good, have a good relationship, people freak out. Oh, you're a Russian apologist. You're a Russian spy or a Russian this, that, the third, the Russia hoax, all this shit. That's not a bad thing. Why is having a relationship with a nuclear power that is one of the strongest nations in the world, why is having good relations with them bad? How is having them as an ally bad, as opposed to them being allied with China? Because what we did with this Ukrainian war and trying to encroach on the Russian border and bring Ukraine into NATO, what we did is we antagonized Russia. So they had to do what they had to do. They didn't just invade Ukraine because they invaded Ukraine. You should never invade a country. Sure, you shouldn't start wars. But at the same time, I don't look at them and say, "Oh, they did it by accident. They just did it because they felt like it." No, they did it because you were encroaching on their border with a military pact, NATO, and you're going to bring in Ukraine after telling President Gorbachev in the 90s that you weren't going to grow NATO at all. Clinton in his administration literally wrote a letter, wrote a treaty that you can go find online saying we're not going to grow NATO at all after the collapse of the Soviet Union. They told President Gorbachev, the first Russian president, that after the Soviet Union collapsed, they told him we're not going to grow NATO in the early 90s with Clinton. What did they do immediately after that? Grow NATO. And they've been doing it for the last 30 years. And Russia kept saying, stop, stop, stop. Stop, stop, stop. Nope, we're gonna keep adding them, keep adding them, keep adding them, keep adding, keep adding. It's happened for the last 30 years. Till finally they made it all the way up to the Russian border, to the very last country they had left with the most land touching the Russian border, which is Ukraine. And Ukraine, including having Russian speaking Russian native people within the country of Ukraine, which Russia feels like belongs to them because they're Russian people. If they did a referendum, and they've done these votes before in that part of Ukraine, they said they would rather be part of the Russian country.
Yep.
Anyways, they say, oh, we're going to bring NATO, or we're going to bring Ukraine into NATO. Putin's like, you're forcing me to start this war. You're forcing me. So why are we antagonizing them? Why are we putting these massive sanctions on them so that they have to do trade with China and become closer with China and get off of the US dollar as the world reserve currency, ultimately impacting us and our ability to keep ourselves the world reserve currency? We're shooting ourselves in the foot here. So the approach that Trump's taken with Putin, I agree with 100%. Be friendly with that nation, collaborate with them, not compete. You're going to get more through collaboration than competing with a nation like that. You collaborate there. Take them away from China. Pull them away from China. Don't push them towards China. Not good. It's not smart.
Yeah, and we know what happened with, the CIA operation to get pretty much a facade government in there to pretty much facilitate and start this war as well. That was the first kind of step, I think, in trying to get them into NATO, was overthrowing the government and having the election in which Zelensky got in. And we know elections all across the world have been a bit shaky recently, a bit, unpredictable, and maybe rigged in some countries. So yeah, that was kind of the start of it. And then I think once Biden got in, and that might have been the plan all along: get Biden in, get Ukraine into NATO, and then yeah, it would have been even more of a war. But that just goes to show why the United States is great as well, because every 4 years, if a president has a bad agenda in foreign policy and what he's doing, we could vote them out. That's what's great about it, because people didn't like Trump his first term. Okay, the news went crazy. Everything that what happened with social media and news networks going crazy about Trump. Mm-hmm. Okay, you got him out in 2020. You brought in Biden. Okay, well, everyone realized Biden was much worse than what Trump was doing. So now Trump's back in. And now we'll see what his agenda does, mm-hmm. and we'll move forward after that. So you have 4 years to let a president implement, maybe 8, implement his plan, implement his ideas of what he wants the country to look like and what he wants his foreign policy to be when it comes to wars and economic policies. And if you like that, you keep going with that strategy. If you don't, you have the option to change it in 4 years. So as much as, some of us didn't like Biden, what Biden was doing, you have to accept it, swallow the pill. He's the president for these 3 years. COVID, he was vaxxing us, locking us in the house, starting wars, right? So people
it was the pen. It was the auto pen was locking
exactly.
us up.
I can't even blame Biden, because he's a Scranton, Pennsylvania guy. I always rooted for him to do good, but whoever was running that auto pen was running the country, and they did a terrible job.
Awful. All right, Harry. Well, double-digit live viewers across all platforms. I had over 20 plus on my end. I'm sure the TikTok was probably on fucking fire on your end.
Yep.
But that's all I really had for the gentleman today. You got anything else for him?
Yeah, no, that's all I had for today. Again, if you guys didn't catch it in the beginning of the stream and you're still watching, check out the Taylor's Code. The link will be in our descriptions of these live streams, whether you're watching on X or YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're watching. The link to our community is in the bio, so go get there. Join up the community where we're working day in and day out, whether you want to build your own business in e-commerce, whether you have some money saved up, you want to invest that in the crypto markets or in the stock markets. Priamo will show you guys how to set up your portfolio and how to get that going. We have tons of resources and analysis that he does on the day-to-day. Also fitness, Logan Bauer, fitness professional. If you want to get that six-pack ready for the summer, make sure to join up the community where we have all of this stuff in place.
That fitness campus, motherfucker. We're fucking competent in all realms. Six-pack abs cracking across the entire organization. That's something we've done a study. Those who join the Taylor's Code are 80% more likely to have six-pack abs and 95% more likely to get fucking loaded. So I like those statistics. I don't know about you guys. I'm a numbers guy. Those sound like some good numbers to me. So yeah, join the network, become a part of the organization. We'll get you guys making money ASAP. You'll also be able to collaborate with myself, Bobby, Logan, all the gentlemen inside that we have, and we're growing. We're growing quickly. We have over almost 400 members across the entire organization, from the school community to the private Discord. If you're trying to join the private Discord, like Bobby was saying, links in the bios, links in the video description. It's the taylorscode.com. Bobby's links on his side, and use discount code. Here you go, gentlemen, right? This is just for March, so you only have a couple days left. There's only a couple days left to use this. Couple days. Discount code. Yeah, Bobby's doing it. TC444. So when you're on the Stripe checkout, you're going to do add promo code. You're going to put TC, Taylor's code, 444. 444. And it'll give you $40 off your first month. So if you enter in at the professional level, it's $10. $10. You're going to go spend that at fucking McDonald's, but right after the stream. Okay? How about you do that $10 for a month? You get a part of the private network. You see what it is that we can do together. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Outside of that, cracking stream. Anything else you got, Bobby?
Yeah, make sure to join up, guys. And if you guys like to stream today, the reason why we talk about other topics is to make sure that we are competent in all realms. That's our motto. That's our MO. So it might not directly correlate to what we do inside the community, but it's good to knowledge. Keeping up with current events is why we talk about this stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream today. We'll talk more inside the community.
All right. Mr. Producer, we got all them hoes. And Wordy, I see you on the kick stream.